I'm so excited that you're here. This week, I'm really excited to share with you something that I'm super passionate about, and that is sharing with you a technique for working on your shadow self. Now, really, on the Savannah scale of difficulty, this is probably at the top level. And it's at the top level because it's psychological torment to really work past your own BS and become comfortable with who you truly are. Because if you're like most people out there, including me sometimes, there's things about yourself that you don't like. But there's a difference between having things about yourself that you don't like and actually denying the truth about yourself. We'll get into that during this video. Now, if you truly want to work on your shadow self, I have an exercise for you. And this exercise you can begin now, but really to gain traction is to really follow this exercise over the next 30 days. And what you will need is quite simply this: a notepad and a pen, a candle, any color, and I want you to choose a god or a goddess which you really respect, admire, you really desire the qualities that they have to offer. At the same time, I want you to really start researching this god or goddess and look at their shadow side. What are some of the aspects of their personality or their archetype that you really need to look at as well? And from this point, you begin your journey on reviewing your own shadow self, your own darker side. Many people don't like their shadow side. They don't want to face the reflection in the mirror of who they truly are because it's really painful. An example is one client of mine was a younger girl and she grew up in a very spiritual family. And she was a child of divorce. And she thought that because she didn't feel in alignment with her father's religious system, that she wouldn't be accepted by her father. And the father, of course, remarried, and his wife was not a nice woman. And so in order to retain the father's favor, she felt like she couldn't do anything that would discredit her in the eyes of her father. And so all of the behaviors that now start to build up in her shadow side, such as self-harm, because she wasn't accepted the way she was, self-hatred, not finding her voice, having to live a false self, not only between the relationship between her and the father, but now between her and the rest of the family. So she lost her identity in this process. And therefore, when you lose your identity, you become judgmental. You're upset that you can't truly say what you're thinking or what you're feeling. Because you're not living your true self, you become very resentful and hateful. You become self-sabotaging. And long story short, what needs to happen is that you need to firstly identify that the only person that can change in this scenario is you. And this is by really looking at that shadow self. Now, in her case, my suggestion was that you need to write a letter to your father and express to him your true thoughts and feelings. Because at this point in your life, in your mid-20s, you are self-sabotaging, you are self-harming, it's affecting your relationship with your others, and as a young woman, you haven't found your true self. The beginning of this process is to really take the time and work through all of these emotions and take ownership for your own feelings. Be accountable for the truth of your own actions. And then understand that every action has a reaction. So I asked her, you need to perform this cathartic process. You need to write a letter. Write a letter to your father, explaining to him your true feelings from a position of an I statement. Now, I know I'm sounding like a clinical psychologist now, but it's true. You need to write from a place of I, not a place of blaming the other person. You're taking ownership, who you are, your thoughts and feelings, what you need in your life. Hand that over to the other person and allow them time or whatever to digest it. But before she handed over that letter, I said, you have to understand that it is his right, your father's right, to say, I really don't want you in my life. I don't want a daughter that has piercings, colored hair, doesn't follow my religion, etc., etc. That's something I can't accept. And that is his right as a human. Now, her decision-making process has to be, should I hand over this letter and risk basically isolating myself from my father for the rest of my life, or continue on this journey of self-harm, self-hate, and of not being seen in this world of how I truly am? And her decision in her case was that she was handing over the letter, and so be it. In her case, she took on the warrior aspect of Hecate. She didn't have to be violent or rude, just assertive, which wasn't a part of her introverted personality. Now, the father was quite surprised that she had these feelings. He thought that her appearance and her look was exactly the way she wanted to behave and act in this world. He had no clue that she felt so disconnected from him and that she had to put on a false self in front of him. And so it was a game changer in her world for her father to come back to her. And he said to her, how did I make you feel that way? And tell me different examples of when I made you feel this way. And they have since moved forward and had a very beautiful relationship where she can actually be her true self. That's not always the case for every situation. For some clients, they find that they are now ostracized from their family. They have to face abandonment. And as an adult, that is something that you really have to work on if this is your scenario. How can you be organic and truthful in this world if you have to live in the shadows? Now, I'm not saying that in every circumstance and scenario that you have to project who you are and what you believe in every circumstance. I'm not saying that. But in your major relationships, you have to be authentic and organic, or you risk mental health issues. Now, before I continue on, I want to circle back and grab some of you who feel like I've lost you in that story, or that none of this relates to you, that you don't have any shadow work to do. So let me give you a couple of characteristics of some of these traits. I won't give them labels, but I will give you the mask. The mask is the face that consciously an individual or yourself puts out to the world. And then the shadow. This is the unconscious reason for your behavior and your feelings and emotions, okay? So you determine if this is you. So the mask that this person presents to the world is somebody who is timid and fearful. But really the shadow to this is that they don't believe in themselves at all. They have a lot of fears. Now, another mask is that the individual that appears emotionally detached, distant, indifferent, perhaps uncaring or unexcited. However, the shadow side to this behavior is really buried grief. There's a lot of fear there. There's a lot of shame. Did you know that numbness is actually a defense?
Another mask, very common mask, is somebody that looks superficial and cunning, inconsistent, maybe sly, but truly the shadow side to their behavior, their unconscious knowledge, is that they really have a distrust of life, of others, and even of their self. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the individual that comes across as uptight, perhaps racist, sexist, homophobic, obstinate, someone that's narrow-minded. That's the way they're presenting themselves to the world. But the inside, the shadow, the unconscious, is somebody that lives in fear and lives in fear of rejection of the unknown.
Now I want you to come with me into my temple room so we can do this exercise together. The reason why I started off here is because I'm here with the goddess. This is a little meditation space of mine, and it's socially acceptable, isn't it? But now I'm going to take you into my temple room, and some of you may feel a little uncomfortable. So let's go into my temple. Now, before we get into the temple room, I just wanted to show you how much I worship the goddess. Many people have this misconception that those on the darker side or who embrace the darkness are just always focused on Lucifer or the only darker aspects of occultism, and that's just not true. To achieve balance, you must accept everything because everything has a place. So come on, let's go into the temple space. Okay, so now I have an exercise for you, and this is one of many exercises. It's a starting point, and on the website in the blog post, I'll put another exercise that's probably the next level if you're really wanting to challenge yourself without the help of a therapist. But even if I was taking a patient through something such as working on their shadow side, which would be done over many, many sessions, and if it was a psychotherapy, it'd be done over maybe a year or two. I don't do psychotherapy anymore. It's far too arduous and boring for me, but it's something that you need to continuously work on. This isn't something that's one and done, like everything I'm teaching, really. The other difference between what I'm showing and perhaps what even other clinical psychologists or therapists would share with you is that I'm not asking, and I don't want you to, replace some word with another word that makes you feel good, another blanket word, another word that gives you comfort and protection. You're here now with yourself and in your temple space. So now is time to get real. So what I would like you to do is have an image of a god or a goddess that you want to work with during the next 30 days. It's a 30-day exercise. It doesn't matter when you will start it because it's 30 days. So you'll be working this across all moon phases. I think it's important to have a note paper. It's important to have a pad or diary and a pen that you can write in at this point in time, because just even take a few bullet points, notes. I want you to, it needs to be an organic process, because as soon as you have time to correct your thoughts, your subconscious thoughts, and it's hard enough as it is, you're going to put it in a language where you think someone else could possibly read it. And it's being raw and exposed. That's what you're being when you walk up to the ancient gods. And if I need to make it a little bit more visual for some people, our ancient gods have been around since the beginning of what we know as time here on Earth. They were existing before Earth time, and so they've seen it all, they've heard it all. And so you are raw and vulnerable and not at their mercy, but there's no need to lie. This is an exercise in not bullshitting to yourself. Now, to begin, all I want you to do is sit in front of an image or a statue of the deity you want to work with during this next 30 days. When you're ready to begin each day, you'll just light a candle in front of that deity. And I want you to spend a few minutes just in silence. Don't have music on, don't have your phone on. Don't be posting what you're doing to social media. You don't have to share this with anyone. You don't have to share photos. Not right now. Just sit here. It's just you and the spirit that you're working with. Feel their presence. Try and get in tune with them a little bit. Think about the aspects of them that you like. And during this time, the only thought, if you have to think a thought as an affirmation, is, I am okay. I am okay. As you're feeling comfortable sitting in front of the Baphomet and different ideas are running through your head, take check of where you are right now. You're living, you're breathing. You're doing this by choice, so you have freedom. And I am okay. That's a fair statement. It's a truth no matter what your situation. I am okay. I am okay. And if you need to, just keep saying that to yourself, because sometimes when you're in the presence and you're really taking it seriously, it can feel very intimidating to sit in front of any god or goddess by yourself in front of a candle in the dark. I am okay. You are okay. You're okay. You're accepted. You're here. You're alive. You're present. You're here. I am okay. The reason why I'm not telling you to say other affirmations is that it can feel like a lie. I am blessed, special, spiritual, da, 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 da. Do you really believe that? Why, if you are that, why do you need to say it all the time? Once you're that, you don't have to affirm it all the time, because you accept that that's who you are. I am okay. That's something that I can just say, yes, today I am okay. Doesn't matter if I was sick or not sick. Doesn't matter whatever. I'm okay because I'm here. Don't give yourself any overly inflated affirmations. In this silence, the next thing you do is really try and see what comes up as you're saying, I am okay. What's coming up as you're sitting in front of this time-honored deity? How do you feel? Are you scared? Are you in fear? Are you intimidated? Do you feel angry? Angry that you haven't been heard by the deity. Maybe you don't feel special. Maybe you feel rejected or abandoned by the deity. What's coming up for you? And you don't have to react because you're okay, but you take notice of it. Don't lie as well. Just, okay, if I'm upset because I'm sitting here and I feel like the gods are ignoring me, I feel rejected, I don't feel special, I feel like I don't have spiritual gifts, I'm angry at other people that have spiritual gifts, I feel like the reason why I lashed out at other people that have or have the public persona of having all of these gifts, I feel jealous, resentful. Sit with those feelings, but just be honest. The difference between this activity and what most of the other activities will ask you to do is I'm not asking you to release this feeling. I'm only asking you to acknowledge it. The first part of engaging with the shadow self is understanding the shadow self. So in 1 or 2 minutes, we can't understand the shadow self and then in the next breath, release it. That's why so many people feel like it's a fake exercise. I don't even do that if you were sitting in one of my clinics. I don't do that because it's not real. Working on the shadow self takes time, but it also takes honesty. And it's part of our human condition. So it's okay to feel exactly how you're feeling right now. And hence why the only mantra I believe that you should say is, I am okay. I'm okay. I'm here. I'm not happy to be here. I'm uncomfortable with the exercise, but I'm okay. That is a truth. I'm okay. And so just keep working through those feelings. If you need to turn to your diary and write in your diary, then that's what you need to do. Spend as much time in the diary, or maybe don't diarize, just process it, because everybody is different the way they internalize and process information. The key is not to release it. Not right now. It's not the right time. If you're ready, and maybe this might take a few days, maybe a few weeks, feel free to give this feeling or emotion or this negative aspect of yourself, feel free to give it a name. Is there something that you want to call it? Because we're not suppressing it anymore. We're bringing it to the surface and accepting that this is part of who you are. It's part of your identity. It is now a truth. And when you can own your truth, that's when you can smile and accept that there's part of your personality or part of the behaviors and traits that you share with the world that are uncomfortable, awkward, or could be unacceptable to some people. But that's okay, because this is who you truly are. And then you can be more authentic. So when you're ready, give this, either you can give the behavior a name, or you can create an avatar if you want. It could be called Cyril. Who knows? When you're ready, what you need to do is to talk about this out aloud to the God and Goddess, almost like a confessional, but you're just being honest about it. It's okay to say, I'm really jealous of what this person's doing, and because I'm so jealous of them, I feel inadequate, and because I feel inadequate, I feel like I have to harass them or act out on them or do really mean things to them. So, like I said, when you're ready to actually enter into dialogue, honest dialogue with deity, feel free to do so. And then take some notes. At the end of the 30 days, now is the time to really consider what you wish to do about these behaviors that you've discovered while doing this exercise. Your shadow behaviors, your shadow personality. Does your shadow side serve you, or does it harm you? So I hope you could see the reason why, as a witch or an occultist, working on your shadow side is so important. For those of you who haven't worked with the gods or the goddesses of our pagan roots, and you've been wondering, how do I work with them? Well, this is a great exercise to really start that relationship with them, becoming vulnerable, becoming authentic, becoming real, introducing yourself, having a relationship with them. That's what it's really about. And when you then go into, after the 30 days, perhaps you begin a daily offering ritual where you're just lighting incense or spending time in front of that statue just in praise or gratitude. It's a really nice way to begin this journey if you haven't already done so. Now, truly, there are some of you out there, some of my long-term clients and some of my students, I really think this is an exercise that you should employ over the next 30 days. And I want you to email me if you do this exercise and let me know of the pros and cons of you taking this 30-day journey. It would really mean a lot to me because I just know this is a game changer for many of you. All right, well, until next week, may your spell casting be auspicious. Bye for now.